Welcome back to our journey through the Republic. In our last episode, Plato led us out of the cave. We watched prisoners' mistakes shadow for reality. We saw how difficult it is to leave comfortable illusions behind and pursue truth. But now, Plato asks a new question. What happens after a society discovers the truth? What happens after wise leaders build a good society? Can the perfect society remain perfect forever? Plato's answer is both simple and disturbing. No, because the greatest danger to a society is not always an enemy at the gate. Sometimes the danger comes from within. Today in episode 8, we are going to watch Plato's ideal city slowly decay. And as we do, you may begin to recognize some of these patterns in the modern world. Socrates begins with a simple observation. Nothing created by human beings lasts forever. Not families, not businesses, not empires, not even government. Everything eventually changes. Think about a successful family business. The founder starts with nothing. He works hard, he sacrifices, he builds a reputation, he creates wealth. His children inherit the business, and the business survives. Then the grandchildren arrive. They inherit the wealth, but not necessarily the discipline that created it. Gradually, standards begin to fall, arguments increases, the vision becomes unclear, the business starts losing direction. Plato says society often follows the same pattern. The problem is not the building, the problem is the people. And this leads to one of the most important statements in the Republic. States are as the men are. In other words, government reflects the character of the people who run them. If the character changes, the state changes. For proper understanding, let us consider 4 stages as given by Socrates. Stage 1 is what he called democracy, when prestige replaces wisdom. The first declines begin when wisdom stops being the most admired quality. Instead, society begins admiring honor, status, recognition, and power. This is what Plato calls democracy. Now let us make this practical. Imagine a university. At first, the institution rewards excellent teaching, research, and learning. Then gradually something changes. People become more interested in titles than scholarship, more interested in ceremonies than education, more interested in prestige than knowledge. The university still exists, but its priorities have changed. Plato says the same thing can happen in society. Leaders become more concerned about appearing strong than being wise. Public image becomes more important than good judgment. Announcement becomes more important than outcome. Think about politics. How often do people praise leaders for sounding powerful rather than solving problems? How often do citizens celebrate strength while ignoring competence? Plato would say this is the first warning sign. The society still values excellence, but it is no longer the excellence of wisdom. It becomes the excellence of prestige. And once prestige becomes the goal, another value quietly enters the picture: money. And this leads us to stage 2, oligarchy, when wealth becomes the highest value. According to Plato, the love of honor eventually becomes the love of wealth. This is oligarchy, a society where money becomes the main measure of success. Now, Plato is not attacking wealth. His concern is what happens when society starts respecting wealth more than character. Let us be honest, this is a question many societies are struggling with today. How often do we ask, is he a good person, compared to how much is he worth? Think about social media. Many people feel pressure to look successful. A young graduate may be unemployed but feels embarrassed because society constantly celebrates luxury, expensive cars, expensive phones, expensive lifestyles. The message becomes clear. Wealth equals success. Plato says this creates a dangerous society because eventually the country becomes divided into two: the rich and the poor. Both groups live in the same nation but experience completely different reality. Think about modern Nigeria. One family worries about school fees, transportation costs, and food prices. Another family may never think about those problems. One child studies by candlelight, another child attends expensive schools with every advantage. Plato says these are signs of a society becoming divided. And when enough people feel excluded, frustration begins to grow. Soon people begin demanding change. This leads to the next stage: democracy. When freedom loses direction, the poor eventually overthrow the wealthy elite. Democracy is born. At first, this looks like a victory. Everyone is free, everyone can speak, everyone can pursue the life they choose. Plato even describes democracy as attractive and colorful. But then he notices a problem. What happens when freedom loses discipline? Imagine a classroom. A lecturer walks in and announces no attendance, no deadlines, no examination, no rules. The students celebrate for a while. It feels wonderful. The learning begins to collapse. Why? Because freedom without responsibility becomes disorder. Plato worries that democracy sometimes drifts in the direction people stop respecting expertise. Every opinion becomes equal. Facts compete with rumor. Competence competes with popularity. Now think about our digital age. A medical doctor spends years studying medicine. An influencer makes a 30-second video. Sometimes, both opinions are treated as equally valid. Plato will find this deeply worrying. He feared a society where popularity becomes more powerful than knowledge. And eventually, this confusion creates another problem. People become frustrated. This now leads us to stage 4, tyranny, the search for a savior. When people become frustrated, they begin looking for someone to rescue them. Someone who promises simple solutions. Someone who says, I alone can fix this. I will protect you. I will solve your problem. At first, this person appears to be a champion of the people. They speak against corruption. They attack elites. They promise change. People celebrate them. They trust them and they give them power. Then something unexpected happens. The protector becomes the ruler. The ruler becomes the master. And the master becomes the tyrant. Plato compares this transformation to a wolf. Once it tastes blood, it changes history, gives many examples across the world. Society facing hardship have sometimes embraced leaders who promise quick solutions to complex problems. The citizen wanted security, the citizen wanted stability, the citizen wanted hope, but sometimes they ended up surrendering their freedom. Plato's warning is not about one country. It is about human nature. People who desperate can become vulnerable to those who promise certainty. Now, let us bring it home to Nigeria. Think about the conversation happening across the country today. Economic hardship, youth unemployment, insecurity, the rising cost of living, even public frustration. Plato encourages us to look beyond individual events and examine the deeper values shaping society. Because his argument is simple: before institutions fail, values fail. Before governments collapse, character collapses. Before societies decay, people begin rewarding the wrong things. The society gets more of what it celebrates. If it celebrates wisdom, wisdom grows. If it celebrates integrity, integrity grows. If it celebrates wealth without character, wealth becomes king. If it celebrates power without accountability, power becomes king. That is the real lesson of the spiral of decay. Now, the big question Plato leaves us with, a question that is still relevant today: how does a society lose its way? His answer is surprisingly simple: not all at once, one value at a time, one compromise at a time, one generation at a time. The collapse begins long before anyone notices. And that is why citizens must remain vigilant, because every society is constantly choosing what it values. And those choices eventually determine its future. In our next episode, Plato takes us inside the mind of the tyrant, the man who appears to have everything: power, wealth, control, influence. But Plato asks a shocking question: what if the most powerful man in society is actually the most miserable? That is where our journey goes next week. Join me in the next episode. I remain your host, Osho Abiodun.